Hi there, welcome.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Doing well, thanks.
Okay, so obviously my camera is not on.
We are recording today just to let everybody know who just joined, and we'll say that a couple times before we really get started.
Okay.
Hi, Marie.
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well.
It's been a while since we've seen each other.
Oh, yeah.
I keep up with you through Rebecca, though.
Uh-oh. Don't believe
All
anything
good.
she tells you.
All good.
Well, welcome. That's a Dane County background, I see. Is it?
It's
Door
Door
County.
County, actually.
Okay.
Right? So that goofy road that you drive to get to the tip of the county, which name is escaping me right now, right? So I wish I could claim I took the picture, but the picture I have of that, the leaves are not, that color. So I like a fall background, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then my coworkers can't see my kids or my dog sneak up behind me.
Well, welcome to everyone who has just joined. Just so you're informed, we are recording the session today, so we are currently recording. And then Cece, let me know when we want to kind of get started with the icebreaker activity, or if we want to wait just a couple minutes.
I think we can get started, and then as people trickle in, they'll just yeah.
Okay, great. So today we're going to start out with a whiteboard experience. We would like you all to take a moment and think of the best piece of advice that you would give to your younger professional self. And basically, if you have any questions about how to use the whiteboard, let us know. But you can click on the text tool, click into the whiteboard, and then write your piece of advice.
Can you guys hear my dog barking?
A little.
Sorry, I'm joined from my browser, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I can't seem to like click in unless there's a function that I'm not aware of.
You need to press the down arrow to get specifically to the T. You want the T because that will make a text box that you can then use to type into.
And if you're unable to do that, I'd be willing to type it in here for you.
Yeah, I can send it to the chat. I'm not seeing
Yep,
any
we
options
can
to click in.
if you put it in the chat, we'll cut and paste it in.
Perfect. Thank you.
These are good. Thank you for adding these in here. At last year's event, we had, we went around and gave, some of the best advice that we had received through our career, and I found it really helpful. And so I thought, hey, like, what would I tell my younger self, even through some of those, some of the advice that I learned from that meeting? Like, what did I learn from that? So I thought this would be good to kind of take this with us after our meeting. Somebody wrote, don't be afraid to say no. My big thing was, don't be afraid to say yes.
I actually did a graduation speech and I had 5 things to tell my younger self, and don't be afraid to say yes was the first thing. Don't be afraid to say no was the second. Oh,
Yeah. Yep, I learned that after saying yes to a lot of things. Like, does it make sense to say yes to so much? So that's why mine is about thoughtful risk.
Was that the keynote at the UW graduation, Marie, that you were speaking at? Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
These are really good.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, yeah, you know.
Oh, it's okay to fail. I like that one. It's a hard one though. All right, just a couple more minutes. Does anybody want to talk about anything that they wrote down or the piece of advice, like how they kind of learned it, or story that goes along with it?
so I don't know if anybody else is seeing this. There's one all the way to the left on my screen where I just see risks with 2 exclamation points. Seems to be off the screen for me.
It says, be willing to take more than thoughtful, in parentheses, risks.
Mhm.
That's what I would tell my younger self. Be willing to take more risks. And it goes along with that fear of failure thing. It's okay to fail. You know, failures are not always failures. Yeah, I wish my younger self would have had a lot of this advice. So thank you.
I'm not seeing them all, so hopefully we'll be able to capture them.
Yeah, some of them are like half on and half off, is what I'm seeing.
I think that there's like a zoom in, zoom out tool. If you go to the right, maybe that is, I'm not sure.
Oh, full screen. Full screen, that helps.
Okay. We have a minute, so I guess we can just say them out loud really quickly. The first one is ask questions about the thing you find interesting. Be willing to take more thoughtful risks. It's okay to fail. Don't be afraid to say no. Never stop looking for more. Don't be afraid to share your ideas and be open to the ideas of others. Believe in yourself. Never stop. Oh, did I already say never stop looking for more? Always stay curious and don't be afraid to ask questions. And then try everything. You never know what you are going to really enjoy. And be confident. You know what you're talking about. Is there more that I'm not seeing?
There's a couple that just popped up.
Oh, okay. Mistakes are okay. Stay focused. All right. Thank you for adding those. Well, for those of you that have joined, and we are recording the meeting today, and welcome to our mentoring session, mentoring presentation.
Yeah, these are really great advice. Most of these resonate with my experience too.
The one that says you can learn on the job, you don't have to already know it, is really appropriate for this group in particular. There's a study a few years ago that if women saw a job posting and they felt like they met less than 90% of the qualifications, they wouldn't apply for the job. Whereas men, if their threshold was 50%, so if they felt they met 50%, then they would apply. And so this idea that women have a much higher standard for themselves, and this idea that you can learn it on the job is very, very relevant and very true.
All right, with that, should we transition to a quick overview of the mentorship program? All right, thank you so much, Amber.
Thanks.
All right. Let's see, can everyone see this?
Yes.
All right. So I'm just going to, my name is Cece, and I'm one of the leaders of the program, the web mentorship program. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Awesome. And so I was just going to give a little overview of the program today for everyone. So this program was created last year. Last year was our pilot mentorship program. And it was really to help strengthen our community within the WIB network. And so mentoring relationships are often hard to initiate and come by, but both mentors and mentees can often benefit from this kind of relationship. Mentees are looking for people that they can learn from to expand their network, to grow, to maybe get advice from someone who is further along in their career and learn from their expertise and experience. And actually, mentors are often looking for this relationship, this kind of relationship too, as they can give back to the community and share their knowledge and expertise. And so with mentoring, it provides the context and the support for this kind of professional connection. And so, and this mentorship program is appropriate for women and allies with all experience levels. So you don't have to think you have to have a certain amount of experience to join this WIB mentoring program. All right. Okay, there we go. Okay. So what is the WIB mentorship mentoring program about? First, there is confidentiality. So between the pairs, everything that you talk to a one-on-one between the two of you are confidential. So we ask you to not share that information. And then it's about learning, support, safety, respect. And we also ask that the pair, especially the mentee, does the preparation to really make sure you get the most out of this mentorship program. And also, what is this mentorship program not for? It is not for recruiting or gathering competitive intel. So how does this mentorship program work? The participants, if you're interested, there is a participation survey that you would fill out, and so there's a different questions on there that helps narrow down what you're looking for from this mentorship program. For example, some of the goals that you're interested in achieving as a mentee or as a mentor, what type of expertise you have, and a couple of the other preferences that we use to match the pairs together. And so when you're matched in this mentorship program, you meet on regular one-on-one meetings. It could be either in person or online, and that's part of your preference, and also a question in our registration survey. So the pairs meet from January of 2023, this new year, to April. So about 3 months. And they only meet 6 times over the period of 3 months. So we recommend that the pairs meet every 2 weeks. And the mentees can identify some short-term goals that they want to achieve. And then throughout this mentorship program, the mentors can actually help keep the mentees accountable on their goals that they want to achieve. And then we also have a participant wrap-up process and the final reflections as well. So we are at this initial info session, and then when the pairs are matched and the notification is sent out early January, we'll also have a kickoff meeting where all the pairs can all gather together. We'll welcome everyone into the program and then sort of pair you off as an introductory meeting. And then there's also a lot of resources that WIB mentoring provides, such as guiding worksheets. So we actually have a worksheet that will walk you through all 6 of the meetings with questions suggested that you could discuss during the sessions, with guiding questions, also with places where you could write down your short-term, long-term goals. And we also have a mentor-mentee reading tip sheet, some reading material that would help you sort of sharpen your mentoring skills. And we also have a wrap-up meeting at the end of the program for all the mentors and mentees to connect and share their experiences. Maybe it's a little different across the board, across the pairs, and to just get together and share their experiences at the end. We'll also have some evaluation for participants in the program to help us improve this program for the future as well. So we're definitely open to feedback on how to improve this mentorship program. And so some frequently asked questions are, WIB provides a lot of networking events. Why not just connect with people at these networking events? And so I don't know about you, but as an introvert myself, I often feel a little nervous at these networking events and definitely more comfortable on a one-on-one setting. And this mentorship program will provide that format, the nice structure to help you develop a rapport with another person in the community and to form that kind of relationship. Another question is, are only women allowed to participate? So all gender identities are welcome to participate in the program. It's not exclusive to women, although we have mostly advertised to the women in Biohealth community. So it'll most likely be a majority of women. Who will I be matched up with? So when you register in the registration link, there's a set of questions that you would answer. And so we use those set of questions and to the best of our abilities, match you up with what the mentee is looking for and what the mentor's expertise is in. And there is some flexibility that exists with this matching process. So if you don't think it's a good match, you can always come to us and let us know. And lastly, this program is completely free. There is no monetary investment, only a volunteer commitment to attend all of the scheduled mentorship meetings. And I really want to make sure to emphasize that if you fill out the registration form, please be prepared to commit to the entirety of the program. This is really the only thing we ask. All right, so what are some of the dates to expect? So registration is now open, and you can follow this QR code on the bottom right here of the screen to go to the registration survey. And the deadline for registering is November 29th. So please fill that out by November 29th. And then we'll spend the month of December to match the pairs together and then send out the notification the first week of January to let people know if they have been matched or if they haven't been matched. And then the week of January 9th, we'll have a initial web mentoring kickoff event to welcome everyone and kind of introduce the pairs for the first time. And then you're off to the mentorship program from mid-January to early April. That's when you'll be expected to do your one-on-one meetings. Again, that's in person or virtual, and you can decide that among the pair, within the pair. And then we'll also at the end send out an evaluation survey to the participants, and then also have a final wrap-up celebration event. All right, so if you have more questions after this info session, we're also hosting another, what we call an Ask Me Anything session next Thursday. So the 17th from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And that'll be virtual as well. So if you have more questions and don't have time to ask today about any of the things we talk about, or just in general, some of the previous participants from the pilot program will also be there to help you maybe share their experience as well. So if you have questions, definitely join us on next Thursday, and you can register here through the QR code as well. All right, thank you so much. And if there's more questions, either email one of us or the Women in Biohealth Mentorship at gmail.com email. Thank you.
And I think Risa just put in the chat the Survey Monkey of where you can apply.
Excellent. Thank you, Risa. All right. And with that, I will hand it over to Michelle.
Thank you, Cece. Thank you, everybody. It's nice to see everybody. I'm going to give me a moment and I will share my screen. So Michelle Smith, 1L, as I affectionately call her, and I'm 2L. And Cece asked me to put together a short presentation about mentoring that might help you all prepare for this really important. And in fact, I made a note for myself to go in and take the survey because I would love to be a part of this program. But because it is really important. And so it's been my pleasure to put this information together, and I hope you find it helpful. So this is, I'm not going to read this. This was what was in the promotional information that CC sent out, but I just wanted to highlight some of the sentence to illustrate what we're going to cover. So we'll talk about goal setting, the importance of goals, how to clarify goals. We'll talk about setting expectations. As I understand it, some of the feedback from last year, and I have to say, I'm really surprised that this is only the second year, because this is a very well-developed program, having only 1 year of experience under your belt. So you all are really fortunate to have such great leaders to be on the ball. But it is important to set expectations. So that was some of the feedback that came from last year is about how do we know what's next? How do we know when we're done? There's also a question about what if your mentor is younger, and how does that dynamic work? And when might that be helpful? So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then we'll talk about what's the difference between a mentor, a coach, a manager, and a champion. So those are the 4 main topics. We're not going to cover them in the same order, but we will cover all of them. So I have 2 ground rules. Whenever I make a presentation, do a workshop, teach anything, it is that everyone has something to teach and everyone has something to learn. So that means speak up, ask a question. We all have something to bring and we all have something to take away. So let's start with some definitions of a mentor, coach, a manager, and a champion. So because sometimes it is the same person fills all 3 roles. Sometimes it's 3 different people, and sometimes you sort of have to flow and move in between roles. So I thought the definitions would be helpful. So first of all, the manager. So your work manager, their goal is, and what they are focused on is performance and results. So they are focused on directing the work that you do, providing instruction when there's something new, providing correction when something gets off course. That is the job of a manager. The job of a mentor focuses on teaching and growth. So this is where this program is mentors, and this is really about sharing my experience, providing some guidance, maybe even telling you what is the best, or telling you what your options are, or maybe even what some recommendations on what you should do. Now, a coach is someone who is focused on discovery and self-reliance. So a coach is not someone who's going to tell you, this is what I see. They're not going to say, this is what I would do, but they are going to ask questions to challenge you and to really promote this self-discovery so that you find the answers for yourself. And in that process, you learn and grow, and you take that skills and that knowledge with you going forward. Now, a champion underlies all of these, and really anybody can be a champion. The role of a champion is someone to promote, to increase the visibility of the person that they're working with, to provide that support, to be the one to take that phone call when something didn't go well, or to take that phone call when something went exceptionally well. And the champion is also an advocate for the person that they're working with. And really, we should all be champions of each other. Champions does not depend on title or role or anything else. It's just, let's support each other, and there's plenty to go around. So let's just make everybody stronger and better. So a few points that I put together about the role of the mentor, and this was a lot of what Cece had also in her introductory slides. So the mentor should facilitate that first meeting. When you talk about expectations and you're talking about what will happen, how often will we meet, etc., the mentor facilitates that discussion. The mentor shares their experience. They might even provide advice. The mentor also plays that devil's advocate, and they point out if you take this action, realize that there's a number of consequences that could result. So they help the mentee think through that and make the best choice then. There might be an opportunity for role playing. Empathy is a very big part of being a mentor, because sometimes we just want someone to listen when we talk about a presentation that didn't go well, or we talk about a presentation that went exceptionally well. The mentor helps with planning, their listener, and they provide a challenge. They keep things real. The mentee's role in all of this is to own the process, schedule the meetings, follow up, implement, and report progress, because this is your outcome. This is for your benefit, and you have to own your own development, which includes taking responsibility for outcomes. So that means if you've committed to try something and report back on it in 2 weeks, the expectation is that you will do that. If you're not able to, something comes up, which can certainly happen, then make sure that that line of communication with your mentor is open, and you're accurately reporting on your status. Prepare for meetings. This means review notes from your previous meetings, review what you had committed to do, and be prepared to provide a summary. This is how it went. This is what went well. This is what I expected. This is what I didn't expect. This is what I would do differently next time. There's a host of sort of self-screening questions that you can ask to help you prepare when you do meet with your mentor, just to make the most of that time that you have together. And this only happens with the active participation in those conversations and setting the tone for those conversations. That comes from the mentor, and being open and receptive. Bottom line is that both the mentor and the mentee should benefit from the relationship. There's an old adage that goes, if you want to learn something really well, teach it. And so mentors, I think, overwhelmingly get as much out of this relationship as the mentees, because there is a sense of fulfillment and a sense of satisfaction of helping someone else. But more often than not, the mentor learns as much as the mentee. And so it's really a reciprocal relationship. So as I was preparing for this, this happened just yesterday. I read an article in the most recent Harvard Business Review, and I thought, oh, I just have to find a way to work this in. But this was, somebody had done a 3-year study that included 1,000 knowledge workers globally, 250 workers in the US who lead or participate in one-on-one meetings, and then one-on-one interviews with top leaders at Fortune 100 companies. And the purpose of this study was to review the effectiveness. They call it developmental relationships, but it really was, what's the effectiveness of mentorships? And the theory was, back in the day, mentoring used to be something that sometimes it happened organically, but it didn't happen all the time. And these corporate programs that are making mentoring mandatory have taken away some of the effectiveness. So the purpose of the study is to look at what really makes this developmental relationship meaningful and impactful. So I just found this kind of fascinating, so I just wanted to share it with you. So the 2 dimensions that the study found was relational authenticity. So how real is this relationship? How real is the affection, is the feelings, is the commitment to each other between the mentor and the mentee? And public advocacy. So this public advocacy is more applicable when you're at the same company and you have an opportunity as a mentor or as a leader for someone else to speak on their behalf. So for this exact context, it might not have direct translation, but I think it's still really interesting. So this is what they found, is when relational authenticity is low and public advocacy opportunities are low, the relationship tends to focus on instruction, which is sharing information. It's often one way, providing help in something that's very concrete or specific or very short term. This is a helpful relationship. This is no way means to say that an instructional relationship does not bring value. It most certainly does. And then you see, as you move with higher relational authenticity, there's more emotional support. There's a bigger encouragement and validation and confidence element to it. Now, when there's greater public advocacy, so you have an opportunity to speak on behalf or to promote someone that you are working with, what tends to happen is career advancement. The person is able to make introductions and provide opportunities. In this upper right quadrant is when the study found was really the most satisfying and the most productive results of a mentoring relationship. And they call this authentic sponsorship. And this is when you are walking arm in arm, that you're close, the relationship is long-term, and it's bearing fruit. So I think this is interesting, but I also provide this because it might provide a framework as you talk about, what do I want out of this relationship? What do I want out of this opportunity? And sort of having this grid might help you say, well, public advocacy isn't something, I'll act with, as much as I can, but we don't work at the same company, so it's somewhat limited. But then really don't be afraid to say no. So some of the advice we talked about giving our younger selves is, if you feel like where you are is in this instruction, fine. It's beneficial, it's helpful, but just to have that conversation up front and put those limits on it. So then one last slide of some of the information. They provide this continuum from a mentor to a sponsor. And this is what it looks like. And these are the steps along the way that happens with this relationship. You might start as a mentor, and over time and with intention, it grows to a sponsor level. So setting expectations from the beginning. This is really important. I kind of think of this as, it's almost like a prenup. This is what we're going to do. And if it doesn't work out, this is what we're going to do. But these are some of the points that I think are especially important. Be clear about how much time you're willing and able to spend. And really be realistic. So maybe I'm talking more to myself because I have such a tendency to overcommit. But really be realistic about what you can spend. 2 hours a week doesn't sound like a lot, but when you add that on top of a 40 or 45 or 50 hour a week job and you have children, 2 hours a week can be a lot. Talk about how frequently you will meet and using what platform. So that is sort of predefined with the program that you'll meet 6 times over 3 months, virtual or in person. But review that. Maybe 4 times is all that you need, or you've got some vacations or something that gets in the way, what have you. What is the expected duration? So again, this is predefined as part of the program, that it's 3 months. And maybe you'll find that you like working together and you want to continue it afterwards. How will you know when the relationship has run its course and both the mentor and the mentee have realized value? We'll cover some of this when we talk about goal setting, because that often tells us when we've accomplished what we set out to accomplish. And then finally, and I think this is a really important point, as difficult as it can be to perhaps bring this up, but talk about when can either step away and say it's not for them. Maybe there's not chemistry. Maybe something happens, a big project gets added to your list at work and you just don't have the commitment anymore. Just talk through what are some of these possibilities that might require us to say, to cut the relationship short because one or both of you just don't have the resources and the time to follow through. And what I have here is it's just a small excerpt from the worksheet that Cece mentioned that is really, really excellent guide for your mentor meetings and to help you, even if you don't follow all of them, it will give you a good start and it will give you some food for thought about things to talk about. So goal setting for personal and professional development and how to clarify those goals so they're motivating and meaningful. So this is SMART. We've all heard SMART. It's been done to death. Personally, I'm not a fan of SMART. I just think it's been around for so long, but it does really provide some important guidelines. Although I've sort of taken it a little bit and given it a little twist. So being specific, this means talking about what will be different and why does it matter? Those are the questions that to me really get at the heart of specificity. If you're having this conversation between mentor and mentee and the goal completion doesn't generate that movement toward career goals, maybe it needs to be more specific or maybe it needs to be reconsidered. So if you can't really see this tie between this goal and my ultimate career aspirations, maybe that's not the right thing to be working on. Measurable. So what does done look like? If you are successful at achieving this goal, how will I know? That's what measurable means to me. Now, if you have a goal that has an indefinite completion point, it might not be appropriate for this program. And if you find yourself in that situation, I would suggest that you consider breaking the goal into smaller parts, into something really more concrete. It could be as concrete as at next week's team meeting, I'm going to ask 3 questions. That's a goal. And that can be a really important mentoring step to take if you're working with someone who's trying to speak up more or trying to have a bigger presence or trying to take on a leadership role. But don't be afraid to get really small and really specific. And if you accomplish 1 goal a week, then you just add another one. That's far better than having 1 goal that's too big and unreachable. Is the goal achievable? And in this context, what that means is, are there foundational knowledge and experience in place? And this has to do with being realistic. So if you're a mentor and you're working with a mentee that just doesn't even have the experience or the knowledge yet to be taking on the goal that they've identified, I think it's really important to talk about that and reframe it and say that perhaps the bigger goal they have is something that is 3 or 4 years down the road. But for now, before you can run, you have to crawl. So let's just see, what are we going to do that can get you on the way? Is it relevant? So if you're meeting and the goal just doesn't clearly support career aspirations, you have to ask if there are other higher priority goals that might be important and more relevant for the purposes of this program. And then time bound has to do, in this case, with being realistic about the effort that's necessary and the effort and the resources and time that both mentor and mentee have available. So I think this is how SMART applies to the goals that you will set. So I've got a couple of examples here. So the mentor starts, why did you sign up for mentoring sessions? And the mentee, I don't have a specific reason. I just want someone to talk to. What's going on that makes you feel that way? I just feel lost. I'm not sure this is the right career for me. So this is pretty open-ended, pretty vague, important, very important. But if I'm a mentor, I'm starting to think, but what can we do? So this might be the mentor's response. I can relate. So again, this is a situation, the mentor relationship is one where you're providing guidance and advice. So you can say, yeah, I've been there. That's not something as technically as a coach that you would say, but as a mentor, yep. There are some days that I wonder if I'm in the right career too. How about if we make a goal of our conversations to talk about how and why you got into XYZ and make a list of what you do and don't like about it. So you're sort of taking them back to, why did you decide on this career? And is this something that you really think is not in your wheelhouse, or are you just having a bad month or a bad year and you maybe just need to refocus? And along the way, I'll share my experience and what has worked for me. So having a goal is important to get the most out of the conversations, because without that, your conversations might be unfocused because they don't have the specificity and they might linger. Maybe, well, I'm going to meet because I said we would meet, but I don't have anything to talk about. If you take this vague, general, but very important statement of, I'm not sure this is the right career for me, break it down into tangible exercises. So in this case, list making, because that adds a sense of control and a sense of accomplishment. And it provides notes for the mentee to look back on 6 months from now. I had that great conversation. I know I wrote this down somewhere. Why did I decide I wanted to be a scientist? And it serves as a record, and it provides that measurement part of goal setting. And if the first goal is achieved, then set another one. So another example, why did you sign up for mentoring? Well, I want to be a manager. So as a mentor, you're sort of thinking, that's a lofty goal. What exactly does that mean? Where are you coming from? What makes you say you want to be a manager? So, but you're supportive and you're encouraging. So good for you. It's a hard job, but I really enjoy it. Why do you want to be a manager? People already come to me with their questions and I like helping them. So as a mentor, you start to think there's a lot more to the job than just helping people. And so it's about providing that guidance and that advice and helping the mentee arrive at some conclusions on their own. So you might say, one of the hardest lessons I learned when I became a manager is that having the answers is the easy part of the job. It's harder to keep team members motivated and focused. I think it would be helpful to explore the full scope of a manager's position. How about if we make our goal to review 2 or 3 manager job descriptions and talk about what each responsibility means? So again, you're taking this vague, ambitious, I want to be a manager, and you're breaking it down into steps. Because being a manager is too vague and it's just not realistic within the scope of this program. The mentor can use their experience and bring in outside resources such as a variety of job descriptions. So use this group, just send an email. Does anyone have any good just job descriptions from your organization about what goes into being a manager? And what that will help in this case would be to help the mentee see what the job means, that the job can vary, and that the job is far more than helping people. But then that in turn helps them identify, if I want to be a manager, what do I want to work on first to build my skill set to get there? So then the situation where it might make sense for the mentor to be younger and less experienced. And I can really see where this is difficult. I personally would have no issues with this, but it can be awkward. I go back to this. everyone has something to teach. Everyone has something to learn. That is not limited to position. It's not limited to experience. It's not limited to age, to gender, to education, to anything. And when I think about as someone who's older, when would it be beneficial to have a mentor who is younger than you? And I go back to this, let's just be really specific about the mentoring goal. So I work in HR. I'm an HR director, and there are times when I'll seek somebody out who's from a younger generation, and I'll be like, can you just explain this TikTok thing to me? Or, what is it about Instagram? Or how do you feel about the Twitter changes? Or just whatever. But there are times when I would really find it helpful to have someone younger than me that I could confidentially go to. And maybe it's to understand the viewpoint of a different generation. And you want to talk to people about, what is this quiet quitting? How do you feel about that? Do you really see this happening? As a manager, what do I need to do different? And talk to them about that. And having this resource is infinitely valuable. Do you want to diversify your point of view? I hang out with my friends and we are all about the same, and that's good, but it's also pretty boring and it's not really representative. So I want to know from other people what they think about this particular topic or this potential policy change or whatever is on the table. And building connections. It's always helpful. Remember that this is a short-term relationship and it's a reciprocal relationship. So even though the younger person might first be identified as the mentor, it will quickly become very circular, and you will soon forget who's the mentor and who's the mentee, and it just becomes two people helping each other and supporting each other. So I would advise not to shy away from a situation where the mentor is younger than the mentee. I think those are very rich and very valuable. So that's what I had. I know we're sort of limited on time, and I wanted to leave time for Q&A. I have really enjoyed putting this together, and I've really enjoyed presenting it to all of you. I've got my contact information there, so if anyone has follow-up questions or would like to contact me outside of this forum, please feel free to do so. And with that, I will turn it over for questions or comments.
And I think everyone is on mute right now, but if you want to, you can unmute yourself and just ask questions, or you can use your little raise a hand thing and we'll call
Or
your
chat.
name, or just
Yeah.
chat, or you can throw it in the chat. I've got it on the big screen so I can read it. So any questions? Thank you so much, Michelle.
Is there going to be a similar one for people who are interested in being mentees? Or was this session supposed to be for both?
It was supposed to be for both, but if I miss the mark, let me know.
I might have read the invite wrong.
Okay.
Great, both is good, right?
Up, Cece, I can see your lips moving. I can't hear you.
Oops. I said, thank you so much, Michelle. I've learned so much from this presentation that I didn't know.
Good.
Before. I think there's some good takeaways for both mentees and mentors in this. I really liked the slide where you put the two sides, the mentor and the mentee, and all of the type of things that each side could be done. And yeah, thank you so much.
My pleasure, really.
I agree. As always, I have taken a screenshot or two, I shall say.
I'm glad.
I only took one. I do the same thing.
Well, I'll send out a PDF of these afterwards. So
Right.
I'll send it to Cece and she can forward it to everybody.
Yeah, I think the goal is that that the whole presentation will be given out to everyone who applies for the matcher that was here, of course, and then we have it recorded so people could listen in later on as well. So, and then let's see.
Looks like we had a question.
Shelley had a question.
Yep.
Yeah,
Rich?
I was asking if that kickoff event on January 9th is going to be in person or virtual.
I think we'll most likely have that be virtual. Since some of our members could be in Milwaukee or just a little far away. Yeah, so most likely virtual, and that'll only be the matched pairs.
Okay.
Any more questions on just a general mentorship program, resources? Michelle's awesome presentation.
Here's a question. How are people paired together?
So the registration survey, which is in the chat and also was previously in the QR code. So that survey will have a few questions that are used to help match the pairs, like what area do you work in? What is your current position? What type of educational background or experience do you have? And then what areas are the goals you're looking to work on? So in the survey, there's also questions about if you have a particular expertise in an area that you want to share your experience on as a mentor, or if there are specific goals you already know you want to work on as a mentee. Those are really helpful for us. Those specific goals are really helpful for us in the matching process to really just make sure that you get the most of what you're looking for.
Yes. And then as the people that are putting the pairs together, we go through all of those and kind of score everyone and then come together and talk a little bit more about how we think the pairs would work together. We also will go onto LinkedIn and do a little more digging and see where you have been and what you're doing. We don't necessarily will pair people that already work together or have worked together necessarily. It really depends. But if we get into that kind of, we're not quite sure, we'll reach out to the mentee and ask about comfort level, or we'll work out with the mentor as well, just to make sure that it's not awkward. I mean, it is kind of awkward because you don't know these people necessarily, but the goal is not to make it a workplace potential workplace awkwardness, I guess. So
Last year, I want to say, being a part of the program and being a mentee last year, and just hearing from everybody else involved, it was amazing. I mean, the matching process was, most everybody got matched with people that they just were able to work with. So wow. My mentor, I still keep in contact with her. In fact, we're friends. Our last meeting was over dinner. It was amazing. Um, so yeah, the matching process, they did a really great job last year, and hopefully, this year we'll do the same.
Mm-hmm. And I think that, I think Michelle's kind of note about younger mentors, take that to heart when you're doing that application and seeing if you want to reach out a little bit more also and become a mentor. That was one thing that we did notice last year. We had more mentees than mentors, but quite a few people said that they would be willing to do either side. And this is also a really nice, safe place to put that other hat on.
And the mentors from last year's program really did enjoy this a lot too. We got really great feedback from the mentors. All right. Any more questions? Feel free to just drop it in the chat or just speak up. All right. Thank you, everyone. I
Thank you.
think that'll be a wrap.
All right. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much. Have a
you.
good evening.
Yep.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so I'm going to stop recording. Thank you guys. That was a really good session.
Thanks.